Hey, I'm Daniel, and today I want to share 5 reasons why MicroStrategy is the greatest opportunity and how you can benefit from what Saylor does. Reason number 1. The Saylor Cult. What do Warren Buffett, Elon Musk and Michael Saylor share? Their unique perspective sets these three visionaries apart, which they consistently share in any context. Warren Buffett, he not only offers reports on his company's financial performance, he utilizes quarterly letters as a communication channel to convey more profound concepts. These ideas cover various topics from everyday life to more intricate economic concepts. Buffett shares his insights on finance and thoughts on life, personal growth and professional development through these letters. This communication method has established a deeper connection between Buffett and his investors. That's how he created his cult. Elon Musk's vision is to make electric car a norm and humanity a multiplanetary species. This ambitious vision sets a direction and instills hope in those who align with these ideas. Michael Saylor does the same, cultivating a cult that is growing larger with increasingly passionate people. He participates in a multitude of events, podcasts, and interviews. His philosophical, clear, and easy to understand perspective inspires strong beliefs about Bitcoin in those who follow him. In this way, he develops his cult, which directly relates to the interest in Bitcoin. If you are in this market, you have seen how much a large community of people who trust a leader matters. The cult that MicroStrategy forms increases the demand of MicroStrategy shares. The funnel is as follows. First, people discover Bitcoin. After, they discover Michael Saylor. And after, some of them buy MicroStrategy shares. As the price of Bitcoin increases, the price of MicroStrategy shares also increases. The price of Bitcoin grows and new people enter the market and discover Michael Saylor. These people discover the possibility of investing in MicroStrategy, which will consequently lead to further increase of the price of shares. This funnel is a positive feedback loop for MicroStrategy shares based exclusively on Bitcoin's future performance and the education provided by Michael Saylor. Reason number 2. Accumulating Bitcoin with cheap debt. MicroStrategy has access to cheap debt. This is its significant advantage as a publicly traded company. They have managed to secure loans from the public with an average annual fixed rate of 1.3%. The total value of this debt is 3.6 billion. They use these funds to buy more Bitcoin. You might wonder how they managed to get such a low interest rate. 500 million of debt has an annual fixed interest rate of 6.1%. The remaining of 3.1 billion consists of multiple tranches with annual interest rates ranging from 0% to 0.875%. This type of debt is a bond called convertible senior notes. Why is this investment option attractive for investors despite having a low interest rate? For 2 reasons. 1. The risk is low, and in a case of bankruptcy, they compensate the holders first. 2. It is a bond that, in the future, gives the rights to either recover the invested money and interest or convert it into company shares. For example, the last time MicroStrategy borrowed from the public by issuing this type of bond was in the first quarter of 2024. At that time, they raised $600 million at an annual interest rate of 0.875%, maturing by March 2031. Holders of this type of bond can opt to convert it into shares after September 15, 2030. The conversion will be for $2,327 per share. If, after 6 years, when the bonds mature, the price of MicroStrategy shares is above $2,327, the holder can profit by converting them for shares and selling those shares. Conversely, if the share price is lower, the holder can convert the shares back into cash, recouping their initial investment and the interest earned. Investing in this bond allows you to gain from the company's growth while avoiding the risk of potential losses other investors face. This is why it appeals for investors. It offers a unique combination of low risk and high potential, instilling confidence and reassurance. You may be wondering how to purchase this financial instrument, which provides guaranteed returns without risk. Well, you can't. This financial instrument is typically available for institutions. As we can observe, this bond entails two types of costs. One, an annual interest of 0.8%, and two, dilution of other investors if converted into shares. MicroStrategy believes that Bitcoin is limited and other assets are limitless. They are confident that Bitcoin's value will appreciate significantly, surpassing the cost tied to this specific debt. They rely on the fact that when the bond matures, it won't impact shareholders through dilution. Over these 6 years, the rise in Bitcoin's value, combined with operational earnings, will raise the share price high enough that investors won't feel the impact of these costs. At least, this is the premise MicroStrategy starts from. MicroStrategy can do the same thing at the maturity of these bonds. And as we can see, they already doing this. They started in 2020 and this strategy is proving successful, leaving investors with good profits. In their latest financial reports, compare the growth in number of Bitcoin to the growth in printed shares. While they have accumulated 13.3% more Bitcoin, they have printed 4.6% more shares. As long as value of Bitcoin keeps increasing, MicroStrategy can continuously refinance and accumulate. With this strategy, MicroStrategy has created a vortex, a black hole in the fiat system that will suck and store value by printing cheap debt infinitely. Bitcoin is liquidity, the fiat system is debt. The fiat system can create infinite debt, but not infinite Bitcoin. Bitcoin is finite, everything else is infinite. These ideas are the premises from which MicroStrategy starts. They print cheap debt for Bitcoin. Bitcoin appreciates, MicroStrategy refinances and accumulates. This appreciation of Bitcoin makes MicroStrategy appreciate even more. Bitcoin is a vacuum for the value of infinitely printed money. MicroStrategy is the cleaning service. I believe this is the greatest financial innovation ever created. Print cheap debt infinitely to accumulate value in something rare and finite that appreciates far beyond the cost of debt. Years go by, you pay off the debt, the accumulated value has increased even more. Based on this growth, you print more cheap debt and continue accumulating. Do this until the increase in the stored value significantly slows down. Brilliant! This is why MicroStrategy is so unique. Reason number 3. The MicroStrategy stock premium. Investors generally value stocks in the present based on future expectations. If the market is bullish, investors overvalue. If it is bearish, they undervalue. I'll start detailing these behaviors. Currently, the price of MicroStrategy shares is 1.7 times higher than its net assets. In other words, MicroStrategy is trading at a premium of 1.7 times greater than the value of its net assets. What does premium mean? To see what premium means, we have to understand what net assets are. Net assets are calculated by subtracting liabilities from assets. Now, we can calculate the premium by subtracting net assets from company's market capitalization. If a company's price is higher than its net assets, it trades at a premium. The market sets this premium based on its expectations. In the case of MicroStrategy, investors become more optimistic if the Bitcoin trend is bullish. Thus, future expectations regarding the company's potential increase along with them will increase the premium, and vice versa. If you buy MicroStrategy worth of $1,000, you receive Bitcoin worth of $600. MicroStrategy is 1.7 times higher than the value of net assets. In the past, Saylor's company reached a premium 6 times higher than the stock price during the bull market. The company's shares have traded even below net assets in bear market. The premium on net assets has traded at a historic low of 0.5. In other words, you could buy MicroStrategy at half the value of its net assets in the last bear market. More clearly, if you bought MicroStrategy worth of $1,000 in a bear market, you indirectly owned Bitcoin worth of $2,000. If Bitcoin continues to rise, MicroStrategy shares will most likely outperform their return due to investors' habit of valuing present on future expectations, and vice versa if Bitcoin starts a bearish trend. Accumulating Bitcoin with cheap debt is also a factor that drives the stock premium. Investors who understand that MicroStrategy is a machine for accumulating Bitcoin with cheap debt are willing to pay a premium now in anticipation of the future rise in the price of the shares. The premium increases with optimism and with the rise of Bitcoin. This premium helps investors who have understood and started accumulating MicroStrategy early to outperform Bitcoin's price. MicroStrategy shares are much riskier than Bitcoin but no more dangerous than other altcoins. Besides the risk, their volatility is 2 times higher, so you have to be mentally prepared for big dumps as well. Reason number 4. Short squeeze. Traders are shorting 20% of MicroStrategy stocks. Only some understand Bitcoin and what MicroStrategy aims to do. If Bitcoin price continues to rise in the coming period, these shorted shares will fuel their growth. Why? Because those shares are borrowed and sold on the market. If the price rises above the selling level, traders who borrowed the shares to sell them start to incur losses. To reduce losses, they must buy back the shares. Therefore, demand surge and the price explode. This phenomenon is called a short squeeze. A short squeeze is when the price experiences a strong upward movement caused by traders covering their losses. They do this by buying back the shares they initially borrowed and sold. This event also happened with Tesla. Financial institutions shorted Tesla for years. Elon Musk said in 2018 that Tesla was the most shorted company in history. Traders shorted 26% of the outstanding shares. Since 2020, Tesla has been trading upwards, and in 2021, it joined the S&P 500. These factors created a short squeeze that caused Tesla to have an extraordinary pump. Short sellers have to buy back the shares to minimize their losses. This event added fuel to the fire and the stock price exploded. If Bitcoin continues to appreciate, the same thing could happen with MicroStrategy. The price increase will force losing shorters to buy back the shares. The short squeeze can fuel the rise of MicroStrategy shares, as it has with Tesla, GameStop and other companies. Reason number 5. Inclusion in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 represents a financial index that measures the performance of the top 500 largest publicly traded American companies. When you allocate money to the S&P 500, you allocate money to all these 500 companies. Since adopting the Bitcoin standard, MicroStrategy has made it into the top 500 American companies. However, the S&P 500 still needs to include it. The S&P 500 requirements for including a new company are: be a US-based company, have a market capitalization of at least $14.6 billion, be highly liquid, have a float of at least 10% of its shares, be listed on a US exchange like New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq, be profitable, be a public company for at least 1 year. The public must hold the majority of listed shares. Once S&P 500 includes MicroStrategy, new capital from passive investors will flow in. This capital will create additional demand for MicroStrategy shares. Individuals who are against Bitcoin and accumulate S&P 500 will indirectly expose to MicroStrategy and consequently to the thing they hate, Bitcoin. As with other companies added to this index, it will fuel the fire of growth. Let's wrap up and make a conclusion. We have reason number 1, the cult of Michael Saylor, accumulating Bitcoin with cheap debt, the MicroStrategy stock premium, short squeeze, and inclusion in the S&P 500. These are the 5 reasons I believe MicroStrategy has the best risk-reward ratio in the market. Its risks are higher than Bitcoin and in the same time lower than those of any altcoin. I wrote this entire text to understand why I should start allocating capital. I decided to share it with you because it has educational value. This video is not an encouragement to invest in these assets presented. If it helped you, please send it to a friend, like this video and subscribe.